Good.
Hello, everybody. Welcome in Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you on this Monday. It is the week of Christmas. Hey, Christmas week, too. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Ready to get the week started? As we are on the program today, of course, Don Fischer joins us, the voice of the Hoosiers. Charlie Miller will be along to join me as well. We'll see what happened this weekend. Jim Reamer joins us for some high school action, but Indiana took on Notre Dame. There was a lot of college action. Colts with a gigantic win over the Patriots yesterday. And Tom Brady gets shut out. How about that? With a baseball score, 9-0. Yeah, that was just nuts. I caught the game late, and I'm like, what? There's been a couple times this year there's been some kind of wacky scores in the NFL, and that's one of them. And he was at home and was celebrating something, wasn't he, Keegan?
I don't know if he was celebrating something. I know that Tom Brady cannot beat the Saints in the regular season. And I think I went to bed 3 minutes into the third quarter because I was like, it's 6-0. The Bucks aren't going to score, and Taysom Hill definitely isn't going to put up numbers to make me want to stay awake. So I'm going to hit the hay early.
Nuts. But that's how it worked out. Fun. Hope everyone had a great weekend. We'll talk about Indiana and Notre Dame. Of course, Purdue just destroyed Butler as the Crossroads Classic comes to an end. Indiana wins. They were challenged, I guess you'd say, but they never seemed to be in danger in that game.
I think Notre Dame got out to like an 11-point lead, and I think I was a little bit worried, but it's also Indiana is such a tale of two halves team. So if they struggle in the first half, it's like I don't know what Woodson says at halftime, but they come out firing in the second half, and that's what they did. But yeah, it was a great game. Trace played great. I thought it was funny that Xavier got booed after his 7th straight missed 3. So that was interesting, but as a good win and good way to wrap up the Crossroads Classic with the best record among all the 4 teams over the 11 years.
The best what?
Best record. They were 8-3 over the 11 years that the Classic was played.
Also, Indiana had the best 3-point shooting percentage over the course of the Crossroads Classic, just for those talking about Indiana shooting. 39.5%, I think that's what that was. I put that tweet out. But just a little trivia nugget talking about Indiana shooting. So that was kind of weird to see that. I didn't expect that, but Indiana had some great shooting teams back in the day.
Yeah, definitely. And Parker Stewart made him look even better on Saturday because he was knocking down stuff with a lot of confidence and a lot of ease, it looked like.
Let's see. What else went on over the weekend in men's basketball? I tried to chill, to be honest with you. A lot of games canceled. You had North Carolina playing Kentucky because both had games canceled. UCLA is on COVID pause, one of those. Memphis, Tennessee, the Memphis-Tennessee game among virus-affected games. Seton Hall had to forfeit as COVID got to them. The refs that's something different. Cronin's still in COVID protocol.
Mm-hmm.
Referees now to be paid the same for both hoops tournaments, apparently. The NCAA will pay basketball officials for the women's tournament the same amount it pays for the men's. The national office continues to prioritize gender equity.
We've actually been talking about that in one of my classes, or for the last week in one of my classes. So,
well, my question is, and I have no problem with it, there's one side bringing in all the money,
mm-hmm.
and that that's not always a sustainable model.
Yeah. I think the referees is just possibly a step in the right direction, but I'm not going to sit here and say the NCAA is running low on money. So, because I know that they've got their pockets full.
Well, give me a little.
Same.
Saturday showdown between UCLA and North Carolina in Las Vegas was canceled because of COVID. Obviously, North Carolina's filled their spot to take on Kentucky because of Ohio State dropped out earlier that week. They were playing Kentucky, rather, without an opponent. And how did that game go? I didn't even see what was the result of that game.
I know Kentucky, Ohio State, or Kentucky, North Carolina.
Kentucky, North Carolina.
Kentucky won. For everything that I saw, I was following Matt Jones on Twitter, and he basically just said it was like one of the best all-around efforts by the Wildcats that he's seen all season. And that's kind of what they need in order to win.
98-69.
Yeah, that's a blowout.
Yeah. Some other scores from Saturday. Number 1, Baylor holds on to beat Oregon 78-70. Number 2, Duke. No problems with Elon Musk as they win 87-56. Number 3, Purdue just destroyed Butler at the Crossroads Classic 77-48. I mean, that's probably the biggest blowout in Crossroads Classic history.
Yeah. Jaden Ivey 6 for 6 from 3, and in all honesty, Butler they didn't look very good, and they look completely outmatched, and that Purdue team is very, very seriously good.
Number 5, Gonzaga with a win over 25 Texas Tech, 69-55. Alabama squeaks by Jacksonville State, 65-59. Kansas, they beat Stephen F. Austin by 8, 80-72. Arizona blows out California Baptist 84-60. USC, number 10, 67-53 over Georgia Tech. Number 13, Auburn barely gets by St. Louis, 74-70. Let's see. Houston with an easy win over Oklahoma State, 72-61. Trying to look, see if there's any close. Providence barely upsets UConn. How about that's where the former Indiana, Al Durham, is at Providence, right?
Yeah.
Let's see what he had in that game. How did he do?
I'm not sure. I know that UConn.
There we go.
Pretty good.
What's that?
I know that UConn team has been pretty good this season. So for Providence to
Al Durham was averaging 13 points a game, 3 rebounds, nearly 4 assists a game, shooting 80% from the free throw line, 36% from the field, and 37%. No. Oh, only 22% from 3-point. So they're not missing the shooting there, huh?
No.
But he's handling the ball, I think, a lot.
Yeah.
So there's that. Just a little tidbit there. A little dip back.
You see South Carolina State took down Jackson State in football?
I did, man. The big upset with Deion Sanders, that kind of takes a little wind out of his sails a little bit, huh?
Yeah. He was driving around on the field on a motorcycle before the game, all swagged out after getting that number 1 recruit. And then I think South Carolina State was like plus 500 money line pregame to win that game.
Plus 500.
Yeah, it was a big, big upset.
Wow. Well, there you go. A little weekend action. Get you caught up from the weekend. Indiana and Notre Dame. We'll be talking about that, of course. Don Fischer is going to be joining us. Indiana with a solid win as they were behind in that game, but they did what they needed to do in the second half to win that game. I don't know what to say about it. I mean, they did what they're supposed to do. I mean, really, It's like it's a gigantic challenge. It seems like they're challenged by whomever they play, no matter the level of competition. That's a little scary. If you're an Indiana fan, you should be a little fearful because there's a lot of good Big Ten teams. There's a lot of Big Ten teams that can take you down that are what I'd call middle of the road. The Big Ten probably goes 9 deep, maybe at least 9 deep, in teams that can beat you on any night. So it's a little scary what the league's going to be like, especially on the road. We haven't seen Indiana really go on the road other than the Syracuse game and Wisconsin, and they melted in both of those. So it's a little curious to see what'll happen there.
Yeah, I think it's just a case of right now, which my question is Woodson's been talking about growing pains a lot and how this is still a really new group in terms of to the coaching staff and to each other. But my question is, like, when do those growing pains turn into problems and it's no longer growing pains and you've got to make an adjustment? But I think a big part of that game was Rob Finney just offering kind of a consistent, reliable performance, spreading the ball around, scoring when he had to. But I think Xavier Johnson really hurt him. And you look at, I think Parker Stewart was 3 for 4 from 3. And say you give half of Xavier Johnson's 3-point attempts to Parker Stewart, and I think that is the scoreboard maybe a little different. But I think the defense is going to keep them in games, and I don't think we're going to see a lot of blowouts on Indiana's side this season. It's going to be close and competitive games, I think.
I did not see the new University Louisville's interim president accidentally called their school University of Kentucky during their during their commencement. Really?
Yeah.
Holy cow! That would have been worth having brought. Oh, if I'd have known that, I'd have had to hear that clip.
It's like Bryce Harper saying at his Philadelphia Phillies press conference when he got introduced that he wanted to bring a championship to DC.
Bo Nix and Tanner Bailey both off the board now. From a quarterback standpoint, where did Tanner Bailey end up? I know Bo Nix is gone. He went to Oregon.
South Carolina.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
South Carolina?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be Auburn.
Can they just have a quarterback transfer there? The guy from Oklahoma, maybe?
But he's got a year, and if he has a good year, he's going to go to the draft. So Bailey's probably going to redshirt and sit a year behind him.
Who in the hell's at South Carolina?
Spencer Rattler.
No, I mean it's paying all this money.
Shane Beamer.
Because you don't just start bringing in guys like that for no reason.
I mean, it's not like Tanner Bailey was Quinn Ewers. He's good, but he's not like.
Well, I get it, but he was very sought after. But to land both quarterbacks like that,
yeah.
NIL,
it's free agency.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. Who they got over there paying that money?
Yeah.
Tiger and Son come up short at the Daily.
Yeah.
To Daly and Son in the PNC. Wait a minute. How old is John Daly's son, though?
18, 19, maybe.
Yeah, Tiger's son is like
12.
8.
He's 12.
So yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch that, but that would have been fun.
Yeah, Charlie was throwing some darts all over the place, and he was putting the crap out of the ball. And I think there's actually betting lines out for him to win a major already. You can bet on it, and I kind of see that as a lock, in all honesty, because I just think that genealogy just wins championships. So,
talking about Tiger?
Yeah.
Yeah. But also it helps when you start at 2 years old doing things. And then it helps even more when you start at 2 years old and having the best in the world teaching you.
Yeah.
And to have his genes.
Yeah.
It's a lot about learning. It's more about learning than it is about genes. I got to be honest with you. And it's more about learning early if you have the capability to add to that. But we got to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk to Don Fischer. Back right after this. We're late to the break there, weren't we, brother?
No, break was at 9. It's 8.
Oh, my bad.
No, it's like 20 seconds off. It's no big deal.
Good morning, Don Fischer.
How are you, Jim?
Good, fine, sir. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Find all my stuff.
I gotta go get my watch.
Charlie going to be with us today?
Well, I don't know when he's coming on, if he's joining us now or if he's joining us after.
I got you.
You text him. FYI, Kirk Haston is coming up to the game Wednesday.
Oh, is he?
He's bringing his 2 sons.
Played golf with Kurt at the Pete Dye course for the reunion.
How's he as a golfer?
If he played a little more, he'd be pretty good. He'd have a shot at it, but he doesn't play a lot. He can hit it a long way. He's got that 6'11" frame. If you get that working for you, that you got something going there. But it's really hard for guys that are 6'11" to play golf. Larry Bird was pretty good.
Was he?
Oh yeah, he was scratch at one point.
No kidding.
Back in the day, he got back issues though, and he actually quit playing for a while, and then I think the last couple of years, I think he started playing again. So.
Wow.
He's got a golf course. He's got a golf course. You know that, right?
I did not know that.
In Naples. Yeah. He and a bunch of guys not a bunch of guys, 3 or 4 other guys went in with him, and they built a golf course. It's called the Hideout. And it's private. And I played it. My wife, of course, worked for him for a long time, and they're still very close. And at any rate, long story short, we stayed at his place a couple of times and played golf with him. And the golf course is terrific. It's a really good golf course. I was at the first time my wife and I played there. It was like 8:00 in the morning, and we were first off the tee. And so I'm out in the practice range hitting balls. My wife's sitting in the cart, and I start walking back to the cart because it was our tee time. We were the first off in the morning. And who's walking out barefooted to hit practice balls? Rocco Mediate.
Barefooted.
So it was kind of interesting, to say the least.
Wow. We are back in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you here on this Monday, and that means the great Don Fischer joins us from the Indiana Hoosiers. Don, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Jim. How about yourself?
Cannot complain. Coming off of a nice weekend for the Hoosiers, a win in the final installment of the Crossroads Classic over Notre Dame. Fun time there. Purdue handles Butler easily there. That gets put to bed. First of all, to see the Crossroads Classic go, it was kind of nice, but it kind of had reached its end, its crescendo, I think.
Bittersweet, I think, is how I play. Kind of introduced the game on Saturday, in the sense that the Crossroads Classic was coming to an end. A really good event for the fan base. I loved it for all 4 fan bases. There's no question that I think the fans really enjoyed it. But you're right. It comes to an end because primarily there's opportunities to play big time ball games to make a lot more money. We're talking about money every time you talk about making changes like this. So from that perspective, I understand it from the schools and how they think, that type of thing. At the same time, I think from a fan's perspective, this was a really fun event that was had become kind of a staple, so to speak, for our fans. And now it's going away, which is it happens all the time these days. We used to have the Hoosier, the Big Four, the Big Four Bank Classic, whatever it was, over at the Hoosier Dome, which I thought was tremendous. The Louisville, Kentucky, Indiana, and Notre Dame every year. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, let's see that one was one I can't believe ever went away, but it did. Like you said, Indiana coming out of this one with a 64-56 win, a game in which they had to kind of come back. And normally they had been in the lead in a lot of these games and let them, the two that they've lost, let slip away. But this is the game where they had to kind of climb back into after letting Notre Dame get out a little bit.
Well, Mike said in our postgame show, we were horrible today on offense. He was not pleased with the offensive performance in any way, shape, or form. But the defense held them in there. They held Notre Dame, I think, to 33%, 36% shooting in the contest, 33% in the second half. Indiana got it going a little bit at the end of the first half. They were down 9 in the last 7 minutes and 17 seconds. They outscored Notre Dame 15-3 to take the 3-point lead at halftime. And from that point on, it was just kind of a back and forth battle, so to speak. Indiana looked like was in control at times, but Notre Dame bounced back. I think after the little scuffle that they had when Trace Jackson-Davis got taken to the floor and Parker Stewart came in and shoved a guy. Obviously, that was a negative there, and it kind of got Notre Dame fired up. They got back into it again, but it was. Indiana, you just never felt like Indiana was going to lose this game. At least I didn't feel that way. It was just a matter of making the plays. And, Mike was really upset. I did a little segment with him yesterday. He was not pleased with the fan base for booing Xavier Johnson, despite the fact that Xavier was awful from three-point land in that ball game. But he was not pleased with that. He does not like Indiana players getting booed by Indiana fans, and I don't blame him. I think it's wrong. I've only seen that happen maybe 2 other times in my 49 years of doing basketball games where the fan base booed a player. And unfortunately, it happened on Saturday. I understand why the fan base was upset. I mean, Xavier, I thought, was a little out of control with his shooting, taking too many 3-point shots. He's not a 3-point shooter. I mean, he's got a funny-looking shot anyway. He doesn't he strokes it occasionally pretty well. In fact, going into the game, I think he was shooting over 45% or something like that from 3-point range. But it was because he wasn't taking a ton of them and wasn't forcing it. And unfortunately, on Saturday, I think that's kind of what was his problem. And therefore, the fan base got upset. But as Mike indicated, don't boo your own players. There's just no reason for that, unless the guy's being an idiot, out there on the floor.
Right. You know what? And as I think back, I know that Indiana got booed by their fans last year, but both times that happened in Indianapolis here of recent, I've noticed, not in a Simon Scott Assembly Hall. Does that come? So it's kind of a different crowd in both of those situations. A lot of times it's people that don't normally get to go to IU games, I think.
Well, that's probably true in some respect, but I think that what Mike was upset about, it wasn't the fans were obviously booing Xavier Johnson's shooting.
Right.
That was an obvious scenario. Last year, the team got booed because they were playing so horribly at the end of the season.
That was more probably towards Archie Miller.
That's exactly right. In fact, that chant was going on, if you remember, in that ball game. There was a chant going on, Fire Archie or something. I don't remember exactly what the chant was, but that was a very negative scenario as well. So we all know what happened after that. So that said, as Mike indicated, booing an individual player is just not the right thing to do.
Absolutely. And Xavier still ended up playing better as the game went on. I think toward the end of the game, he was really valuable. 11 points in that game. You had 4 players in double figures. Miller Kopp, the only one that the starter that did not get double figures, but Trace Jackson-Davis, of course, again, another 17 and 12. He's just a double machine And we're not talking about playing Elon here. It doesn't matter who it is. And Notre Dame really made a concerted effort to stop him. Not only was he doubled, I was watching, not only was he double teamed, if he even thought about going in a different direction, there was a third guy dropping off of his guy coming across. I saw it happen twice. And I'm like, damn, how's he getting a shot off?
Yeah,
they were really trying to stop him.
They were. There's no question about that. And I know Rob Finney has not been a fan favorite either with this basketball program over the years because of his struggles with his offensive performances. And I say that from a shooting perspective alone. I think Rob is actually a very good point guard in the sense of running the offense and doing what Mike wants him to do. But he's just not shot it with any kind of confidence. In this ball game, even though he didn't shoot it well as a whole, he hit 2 out of his 3 attempts from three-point range, and one of them was about 4 minutes to go, was critical in this ball game. In fact, we thought it was the difference maker in the contest. Eric, we have a little segment at the end of our broadcast that's the HFI deciding play of the game, so to speak, and we thought that was appropriate for that particular segment. So at any rate, I thought Finney did a nice job there. I'd love to see this guy get his confidence back with his shooting touch because I just think he's so valuable in so many other ways for this ball club, especially on defense. You love to have him on the floor defensively for 40 minutes of the contest if that was feasible.
Yeah, he plays good defense. He doesn't complain. He gives you valuable minutes. He's out there working hard, it seems, all the time, handles the ball well, doesn't turn the ball over. He's just a valuable member to have out there. He's certainly someone valuable to have coming off the bench. That's for certain.
Well, he had 5 assists in the ball game against 2 turnovers in the contest. I just thought he did a great job. It might have been his best ball game so far this season in regard to just being the steady influence that he can become out there. So I'm pleased with what I see from Rob, and I hope he can just get that shooting confidence back because I think he's got a great looking stroke. It just doesn't go down a lot.
They did not have Tamar Bates, who had a death in the family, and he was off tending to that. So that probably had some play into that, not having him coming in off the bench. But it was good to see Indiana play without him. So now you know that they can get that done and add that piece back in there.
Well, it's interesting. Anthony Leal got more playing time in this game than he's had in a while and didn't do much with it. I mean, he worked his tail off defensively, but didn't shoot the basketball. Did he even have a shot? I guess he had 1 shot in the ball game, and that was it. And he's a guy that can knock down some shots. Here's my biggest issue right now with Indiana's offense is they do not get enough shots for Parker Stewart. Parker Stewart is the best shooter on this basketball team. He was 3 for 4 on Saturday from 3-point range. In fact, all of his shots were from the 3-point line other than his free throws. The guy can flat shoot the basketball, find a way to get the ball in his hands for shots. And I don't think the offense is not set up to do it that way right now. And I think Mike and the coaching staff have to find a way to get the ball in this guy's hands for more shots because he is flat a really outstanding shooter.
Yeah, the one thing that I think one of the things I think people have I don't want to say issue, but Xavier Johnson, he ends up taking 11 shots in the game, where Parker Stewart is getting 4 shots in a game.
Right.
And that is what I know a lot of people are. Now, sometimes some of those shots of Xavier's are trying to get to the rim, and he's going to have a couple more because of that. But it just seems like he has way too many 3-point opportunities when Parker Stewart is not getting those opportunities.
Right.
And I don't know if that's completely – some of that's on Parker, I think. Maybe he needs to work a little harder to get open, and then the team needs to work harder to get him set up.
Yeah, I mean, Charlie, you're probably a bit better at analyzing that aspect of it. But here's what I always go back to: the Bob Knight era with Steve Alford, who ran around the court like a madman until he got the basketball in his hands to get a shot, and we were setting picks and screens for that guy every second that he was on the floor because he was Indiana's best shooter. And we just don't see that with the offenses the way they're played today.
Well, you said it best. It's not designed right now for that, right? So I think with he's efficient, right? I mean, he's not effective. He's efficient. He doesn't need. He's not a volume shooter. right? So that's a promise. If you get this guy if you get him 9-10 shots a game, what can that be? So now you may have to incorporate that, because now film's going to tell that story too, right? Once they go to the movies, I call it, they watch film, they're going to see he's a very efficient player. They're going to find ways now, I think, to put him, in my case, you got to put him on Tracer's side. See, now you can't double. That double has to come from the weak side. It can't come from the point guard side. It can't come from the wing side. That's where you really start to really impact your offense and start exploding scoring-wise. That's me. That's what I would do, but you guys are spot on.
How much more does Parker have to work, Charlie, to get his shots? Because it doesn't seem like he's working terribly hard to get a shot.
I mean, okay, all right. But only time I would say every time I say Don, bad analogy. I can't go Parker Stewart to Steve Alford, because I mean, it was no offense other than you just knew your role. You knew your boundaries. Right. You knew who to set screens for. I mean, okay, so in this case, it's a lot of dribble handoffs, a lot of motion, a lot of not a knock against them, a lot of really non-screen, not like hard set screens. Right. More so go through the motion cutting until they get a dribble drive opportunity to really attack. And I think that's what happens with Xavier a lot. He's going downhill. I think he's looking to pass. I'm at the rim, I got to shoot it, right? Or I'm wide open, I got to shoot it. Versus Parker Stewart kind of working that way, right? You know, working, coming off that, setting the screen, then looking for his opportunity. I don't think that's their flow right now. That's just my take.
Right. Well, and again, I mean, trust me, I understand that Indiana's offense is not set up to play like Steve Alford's lineup. You know what I'm saying?
I'm joking, you know.
I know, but it is a bad analogy. But the truth of the matter is, you just want to see them work him into that offense more to get him more opportunities, because he is. I haven't seen a player like him at Indiana in a long time. I mean, he is flat out a guy that can catch it and shoot it and knock it down. I mean, Jordan Halls might be the last guy that you could look at Indiana that was like that. I mean, you just knew that had a chance of going in every time he released it.
Yeah, I mean, to me,
release too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, that's the coach's son, right? God bless his dad. But I mean, you can tell he's a very efficient shooter. So you got to find a way to get him more looks and more takes, and I think that can really cause a stir once you get to the nitty gritty part of your Big Ten play.
Right, no question.
Don, now Indiana has a couple more non-con games coming up right in front of and behind Christmas before they start Big Ten play right after New Year's on January 2nd. So they get to finish up with Northern Kentucky and UNC Asheville, work on some things this next week or so.
Yeah, Northern Kentucky comes in. They're coached by Darren Horn. I met him. He is a friend of Tom Crean's. He came up to practices. I got to sit with him. He wasn't coaching at the time. In fact, I think he was looking for a coaching job with Coach Crean when he came up. At any rate, long story short, he is a guy that's been around the block. He is a good coach. I don't think his team is – they start very small. They're a really small team to start out with. They've got guys on the bench that are bigger, and I don't know how much they utilize them. It doesn't look like they play a lot of minutes. So I think they play small most of the time. But they're a solid ball club. They gave Eastern Michigan, a team that gave Indiana problems. They lost to them by a single point. They played a tough schedule. They're in the Horizon League, so we know that they're playing for money. They're doing that a lot of the time. It'll be an interesting matchup. And then North Carolina, Asheville, I think they're 7-5 right now and probably got a win on their schedule coming up based on what I saw on their schedule. They'll probably be 8-5 coming into Indiana. So two non-conference ball games. It's tune-up time for your basketball team in regard to getting ready for Big Ten play, which starts on January 2nd at Penn State.
Yeah, get right time, Charlie, is before the conference play starts.
Yeah. I mean, again, and you know what? Now you might explore Parker Stewart's situation. Hopefully they're listening to us, right, and getting some tips on probably some adjustments. Two, you get players playing, you get players minutes who rarely get minutes. So to see how they can probably flow in your rotation, because your rotation is probably going to tighten up a little bit coming up very soon, where you're going to probably play about an 8-9 man rotation. In the 8th 9 man, you hope that they give you valuable minutes wherever they come from, sparks off the bench. So yeah, I mean, so hey, look. Also, you're going to potentially, not trying to skip ahead, but you're also going into your Big Ten play, even though you've already played one Big Ten game, but one loss. I mean, that's pretty. I don't know, for the psyche, that's pretty amazing because we only lost one, right? I want to make sure I'm right.
Two.
Right, Syracuse and
Wisconsin.
We lost two. That's pretty. I mean, that's pretty. That's for the psyche as a player. That's pretty amazing going into your Big Ten season.
Right.
Yep, Don, I know you got to get going. I cannot thank you enough as always. One thing I was going to say last is you mentioned players and minutes, Charlie. Don't ask Coach Woodson about Christian Lander. It's like, I don't know, people have gotten on this kick about asking about him nonstop, and it's starting to get under his skin, I think.
Well, you know what? Christian, I interviewed him for our pregame show on Saturday. I thought this is not going to be a good interview. He's not been playing a lot of minutes, that kind of thing. I'm thinking he's going to be down. He's going to be dour. He was great. I mean, he was actually saying, I really like playing for the guy. He says he's really smart. He knows what he's talking about. He's trying to teach me. I'm learning, all that kind of stuff. He said all the right things, let's put it that way, and he had a very good attitude about it. So whatever the issue is right now, and I think I know what it is, I think it's when the basketball is not in your hands and the other team has it. I think that's the problem. He's got to get better defensively if he wants to play on this basketball team.
And I'm sure he will. Don Fischer, I cannot thank you enough, man, as always.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Hey, Merry Christmas to you guys.
Hey, Merry Christmas.
Yes, that's right. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, your wife, your entire family. Thank you so much, Don. The great Don Fischer joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. We're back with more right after this. Good morning, Charlie.
Hey, Jim. How you doing, man? And I apologize, man, on my travel schedule. I should have communicated earlier than that.
All good.
Sorry, bro.
We're all good. How are you doing, man?
Good, man. We're in Louisville right now.
You are?
Yeah. Yep. Was at Midway University, I told you. My son watched him play Saturday. And
that was this Saturday. Damn.
Yeah. Watched them play, and they played a team out of Terre Haute. St. Mary of the Woods or something of that nature.
Yeah. When do you guys leave? Now?
Well, we're going to Memphis. No, we're going to Nashville when I get off the call. There. So I had to find a spot in the hotel, and so we're going to Nashville. After Nashville, we're going to Memphis. Thank you. So,
man, I hate that you're this close and I didn't get to see you.
Yeah. Oh, hey, dang it! I got one of the coaches that's helping me out back in Dallas. Can I call him? I'll hop right back on. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Still got a minute and a half before come back.
Today's the 20th. Oh, no games that day. Oh my God. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games on Sunday canceled.
We're back in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you on this Monday. Hope everybody's doing well. Had a good weekend. Charlie Miller be back with us here in a minute. Right now, I got Keegan from thehoosier.com joining me. Hey, I saw 7 college games canceled yesterday. 7.
Yeah.
And we haven't even really gotten into the heart of the season yet, which is kind of scary. I don't want to get on the talk again, but it is what it is, and it looks like it's coming around. It seems like it's hitting sports more. It just seems like more games are getting canceled earlier this year than before we seem to have had a grasp on it.
Yeah. The funny thing is I don't know if I've seen any college football games canceled because of it. There's been plenty of NFL games rescheduled. There's been plenty of basketball games canceled, but it seems like all the bowl games right now, there aren't teams practicing that are struggling with it. So I'm just hoping that bowl season can continue on and all these teams traveling around the country don't get hit by it. But something that college football is doing is working. I don't know what it is.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're talking about, Don mentioned that Mike Woodson was kind of upset over fans booing Xavier Johnson, which rightfully so. I mean, can't boo your own players, man.
Yeah.
Not in college. It's kind of bad. But, that's people used to say that before is because, well, they're not getting paid. Well, they are now. So you kind of can't say that, but yeah, people are just, I don't go on Facebook or anything. I don't go on Facebook. I'll just tell you that Facebook is it's not a place for news. It's not a place for accurate information. It's not a place for accurate conversations. It's just not a place I spend any time.
No, neither do I.
Like right here, you see 5 Left says up questions about Christian Lander and Woodson wearing a suit or not. I used to hear about coaches why is he not wearing a red tie? And all the dumbest of things that have nothing to do with nothing. You know why Christian's not playing? And because Mike Woodson has not deemed him ready to be able to play. That's pretty easy for me to figure out. I don't understand this nonstop questioning about it, even from the media. I've seen it. I'm like, you know what? There's other guys that aren't playing. They're not playing for the same damn reason.
Yeah. And when he has played, it hasn't been against the best competition, and he has put up some decent numbers, but his best game was against Louisiana Lafayette. And they honestly look like an NAIA team when we played them in Assembly Hall. So it's not like he's a knockdown shooter. And like Don mentioned, he struggles on defense. And if you struggle on defense, you're probably not going to play a lot in Mike Woodson's lineup because it's defense first, and then the offense is kind of lagging behind at this point in the season. But with all the fan sites like 5 Left's mentioned and Facebook and Twitter and everyone asking for Lander to be played, I mean, I don't think that's going to change Woodson's mind at all because he has control of the lineup and he's going to play Lander if he wants to.
Yeah, he even said that in the press conference yesterday. He was talking about different things. He goes, and if and when I play Christian. And I think that was just because he only said it that way because it's become a pain in the butt of people asking questions. And he's probably thinking, why are you asking me about a player time in minutes?
Yeah.
It's like, why are you questioning me about that? Why are you questioning me about an 8th or 9th guy on the, down the way about playing time in minutes?
Yeah.
And I don't get it either. I really don't. I've not had one question about it because it's pretty self-explanatory to me. I don't understand why it's not that way. I don't recall this happening like this to this degree in the past.
Well, has there been such struggling point guard play to this degree in the past?
Over the last couple of years, yeah. But it just social media has allowed people to it just started to spur people.
It gives them a feeling of self-entitled power that they feel like they actually have an effect on what their favorite sports teams should do. So
exactly. Hey, how about the Colts, man? What a gigantic win over New England.
Yep. I
thought they were going to shut him out for a while.
I'd say Jonathan Taylor is probably the favorite for the MVP right now after Tom Brady got shut out last night. So
that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Colts now 8-6. 8-6. That's after an 0-3 start, ladies and gentlemen. And an 0-3 start and 2 losses that they should have won against the Ravens. What was the other?
Do you think they should have beat the Rams?
No. But anyway, oh my gosh. They could be, their record could be spectacular right now. But all they care about is making it into the playoffs. And they're heading in that direction.
Yeah, I'm really interested in looking at the numbers from Saturday to see what
they have the same record as the Buffalo Bills right now.
Do they really?
Yes.
Wow.
And the LA Chargers.
Yeah.
And the Cincinnati Bengals.
The Bengals isn't a brag. The Bills is a brag. The Bengals really isn't.
They're all 8-6.
Yeah.
One game behind the Titans. That was a game they should have won.
Yeah.
That was another game they should have won. Could have won easily. Could have easily beaten the Titans. Could have easily beaten the Ravens. Those are 2 wins you could have. So that would have could have easily made them 10-4. Or you take 1 or 2 of those early season losses off. I mean, they could be at the top of the NFL. It's crazy, but they didn't.
Yeah. And like I was saying, I'm really wondering what the alcohol sales in Indianapolis were like on Saturday, because you got people showing up around 10 o'clock in the morning for Purdue and Butler, and then Indiana, Notre Dame at 2:30. And then that just basically merged right into tailgating for Saturday night football. So I think Indianapolis probably sold the most alcohol among the country on Saturday, because there was a lot.
Indianapolis must have been having a fine time with itself Saturday. I mean, those games, like you mentioned, you got Purdue and Butler's kicking off the party early in the day, then Indiana, Notre Dame playing, and then you got that nice perfect break in the afternoon, just about a 2-hour window in between, say 4:30 and 6:30. What time did the game start? 7:30 or 8?
I think it was 8. I'm pretty sure it was
perfect
8. Window
of 4:30 to 8 for people to libate and refresh and regenerate. That's, you talk about an entire full day of sports right there, baby. There you go. Home, and all home sports too. Not many places can do that.
Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah, Indianapolis, it's just such a great location to draw in so many different fan bases. And it honestly felt like 4 home games in effect. I mean, I would say Notre Dame definitely had the least amount of fans, and that ratio from Indiana and Notre Dame fans is definitely the biggest. But it was just a great feeling walking around. You're seeing Patriots jerseys, Colts jerseys, every jersey from all the teams. So looks like we got Charlie back with us, so I'm gonna get him in here.
Yeah, perfect. Let's see, 9:33. I want to make sure we don't miss a break. I was talking about the Colts, but yeah, big win.
We beat the Pats.
First win over them since 2009, and they had won 7 straight games, man.
That's huge.
So Yeah, Indy has won 7 of its last 9 now after that 0-3 start, with its only losses coming to one-score games, losing to the Titans and that other game I mentioned. So they're going to make the playoffs, I think. The remaining schedule, they got Arizona. They're at Arizona. They have the Raiders coming in and at Jacksonville, which should be a win. So going to be interesting finish to the season, man. Who's your favorite team? Your NFL team, Charlie?
I don't have one. I'll be honest with you. I don't have one. I try to adopt Dallas when they're playing good to make me feel better. So they're playing good right now. So I'm gonna say Dallas.
Man, I got so mad at my brother growing up. He became a Dallas Cowboys fan.
Yeah,
I was a Rams fan. He became a Cowboys fan just because they were winning, and it drove me nuts. I'm like, you have no relation to them whatsoever.
Right. Well, that's the power of the media. You know how that go, man. America's team, man.
Yeah,
the blue and gray, the star, right?
Exactly. How was your weekend, man?
It was great. Look, spending time with my son, watching him play, and they won, and he got a chance to play a lot the second half. Really spent some quality time with my family too. I on purpose didn't bring my laptop. My wife didn't bring hers, so just really try to be present and around them. That's it, man.
That's amazing. How did they win? How'd it go?
Oh man, they won big time. They were. It was a big second half, and he didn't play much as a freshman, but I feel he's in a really good spot. He's encouraged. I think he has the right attitude about it. But he had a double single, and he had 6 points and five fouls in probably less than 9 minutes.
That's great.
And I'm sitting there like, the NAIA game, you're right there on the court almost where you can sit. I'm sitting there like, man, a couple fouls. You don't need to do those fouls, man. Come on. You got to know better than that, but you'll learn from it.
5 Left said you're going to have to get rid of that T-Mobile service.
Well, no T-Mobile, man. I'm in a hotel. First of all, you have been frozen, just so you know. I have no idea why, but you're frozen. So might be Louisville. Blame it on Louisville.
There you go. Yeah, I hate that you're that close and I didn't get to see that, but it's great that he won and you got to have that time and got to travel to some places different together like that. Going to Louisville, going to Nashville, then you guys are going to Memphis. So you're driving all this, it seems.
You got it. You're right, man. We're driving. So in all courtesy of my wife, and she may not listen to this, so we can edit this out, right? I'm joking. But I would never plan this. I couldn't. I would never think about going to Midway, Kentucky, then down to Louisville, now to Nashville for a couple of days, and then from Memphis, we're going to Graceland and Memphis. I wouldn't be thinking this way. That's the better half of me right there.
Wait a minute. You buried the lead. You're going to Graceland for Memphis in Memphis during Christmas.
Yeah.
Holy cow. This is a whole new deal. Oh, man, this is a whole new deal, man.
There you go.
Are you an Elvis fan?
No, but my son wanted to go. And I actually a player.
How does your son know about Elvis and you don't?
I know about Elvis.
I mean, I know you know about Elvis, but how does he know enough about that he wants to go?
I guess that's being by the distilleries in Midway, Kentucky. he might be listening to some Elvis music, right? Because there's a bunch of distilleries we passed up too. That was pretty amazing. A lot of bourbon distilleries. Rich history, I see.
That's bourbon country, man. That's where they make all the Kentucky bourbon. A lot of it, most of it down that area.
Yes, pretty neat story. Went to a restaurant in right in Midway, right across, like probably about 5 minutes away from his school, and there was a family that just brought in a fresh bottle of bourbon that was aged about 5-6 years, and I was amazed at the prices. I mean, wow. 150, 325. I was like, wow. I mean, but yeah, so he actually said he wanted to go to Graceland. So a good player I trained as a senior in another school back in in Dallas area, in Texas area. He's a huge Elvis Presley fan, and so my interest got piqued by him. So it's just fitting that we have this opportunity.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. has an Elvis room in his house.
Wow.
Yeah, he said he's always had one. He's always been. I think his grandmother was an Elvis fan, so he became one. It's just kind of. I have never been to Graceland, and I need to go just to go. It would be cool, but it's cool that you guys are going there for Christmas, man. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. So you got that, and then you not only have the tour of his house or homes, but you also have his airplanes. I guess you can. It's like a part of the whole package. So, yeah, I mean, this is definitely an experience vacation with the family, and it's been pretty cool so far.
Educational, man. It's educational.
Yes.
Hey, I think we are up against a break, Keegan. Is that right? All right, let's take a break right now. We've got more coming up. We're back with it, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday. Oh, damn it. I wish they didn't play this game in Indianapolis this weekend. I could have come down there.
Well, that was the original plan. So it was to go watch. It was to go watch IU play, but it just happened. It didn't work out as far as the weekend go. Because we were gonna do Midway, Kentucky. Then we're gonna go down to Bloomington and be down there this past Saturday, Sunday to watch a game, and then go to St. Louis from Bloomington. But it just so happened that they didn't have a game, and they did have the game, but it's just too far of a drive.
Right.
Yeah, too far of a drive. So, yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, man, I haven't been here since we played UK. You'll play UK at Freedom Hall.
To Louisville?
Yep. We've always played them at a neutral site. We played them we played them here, and then we also played them at the RCA Dome, which I know. Yep. Yeah.
Back in the good old days.
Right. Hey. Y'all going upstairs? Yeah. Okay.
Virginia Tech 4-star quarterback just entered the transfer portal.
I can't keep up with the guys that's in the portal, man.
I try to. It's my job.
Yeah, that's probably a team's second best, or not the best, recruiting tool now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
especially especially if you are seasoned. I mean, and that's going to push. And that's how I was kind of telling my son. I mean, at the NAIA level, you really don't have to. It's really not the transfer portal, but like you got older players. They're like, man, you got a chance to really learn. The coach likes you. He's telling you just continue to get better. Don't sweat the small stuff. You got, And because of COVID, he has another 4 years if he wants to. He could play 4 years.
Yeah.
He has this year plus another 4 if he wanted. So like, man, you got what you want. You can get better. I mean, you could do what you want to do with this game now. And to me, if I'm a freshman, with that perspective, I'm like, man, let everybody come and go. I'm gonna sit this bench and wave the towel because by my junior year,
yeah,
I will have an elective year if I want it.
I wish a lot of players had that mindset, but
you better. I'm hoping.
Yeah,
I'm hoping they do.
We're back in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday. I hope everybody's doing well. Jim Coyle with you as always. Charlie Miller joining us. Keegan Nicholson keeping things running in the producer's chair. Just a couple of Big Ten games on tap tonight. Northwestern host Illinois Springfield, who shows a 0-0 record, which is odd. Illinois Springfield, the Prairie Stars. I'm going to look them up. That's a new one. Haven't heard of that one. I'm sure that Verdell and AJ have heard of them since they're closer to their area.
Right.
But,
right.
Never heard of that one. And they have a 0-0 record right now, which they're showing, which is very, very odd. So that's kind of strange. Purdue hosting the UIW Cardinals. I don't know who they are.
Yeah. That's Incarnate Word.
Incarnate World.
Yeah, and Carson Cunningham is the head coach.
They're from Texas, right?
Yeah, San Antonio, former player at Purdue. So he's the head coach. So that's a big deal for him. That's a really big deal for him, going back to play against your alma mater as a head coach. And that's big incentive for his school too. Those are always revenue opportunities. But I think the experience for the players, and also as a former player, now head coach, that's really big for him.
Well, Purdue playing very, very well after just destroying Butler over the weekend. Yeah. And Zach Edey is coming off the bench now. You got a guy at 7'3" or 7'4" that's now coming off the bench instead of starting.
Yeah. That's that might be strategy, right? Because now you got a rim, blocker or contester more than anything. That might be strategy. And probably the way they play faster with him on the bench.
Well, I think they either just got someone back. I was just reading about it. The guy that they took his place, I can't remember. I'm not up on Purdue, but the sheer fact that they can do that, that's going to make life rough for a lot of people this year. Keegan, you probably are up on who took his spot in the starting lineup. I was reading about this over the weekend, Keegan, for Zach Edey, because Zach Edey is a freaking force in the Big Ten. But for him to be coming off of the bench, but they had they've kind of got like a 1-2 punch now.
Mm-hmm. Let me look that up for you, and I'll get back.
Yeah, I can't remember if I think someone may have been injured or they came back, but anyway, you're bringing a guy like that, a game changer, off the bench, 7'4" with rim presence. Of course, obviously Purdue's beatable. They've already been beaten, but this early in the season, they're just going to continue to get better.
Yeah, you know what? Think about this. It related to kind of share. I watched Western Kentucky play against Louisville. I think it was Saturday.
Yeah.
They got a 7'4" player. Western Kentucky got a 7'4" player. And anything around the rim, and he's athletic, anything around the rim, offensively, you couldn't help, because when Louisville did, they threw the ball up to the rim, and he caught it and dunked. If he didn't catch it and dunk it, he landed and just laid the ball up. Offensive putbacks, if Louisville didn't block out, it was offensive putback. Defensively, he was a deterrent. When you have somebody like that who does not start, so that means, to me, you really don't have a flow and a feel. he comes off the bench, that will throw off any team's rim attacks because you have to be very precise now when you go to the basket.
Yeah, Travion Williams is who I was.
It looks like they're
trying to think
platooning
of.
Zach Edey and Travion Williams as their big guys.
Yeah, Travion Williams started the college game. I think he started the game on Saturday, as a matter of fact.
Yes.
So if Saturday's result is an indication of that, I mean, Butler is not great right now, of course, but they got destroyed. They just got absolutely destroyed by 30 points. I didn't see the game, but I can imagine that kind of an inside presence, having Jaden Ivey on top of that. Man, you just added, that's a lovely recipe.
Yeah, that's strong. And they're playing very confident, right? I mean, you were, at least for 1 week, number one in the country. You lost a tough game against Rutgers. You're still on a high because you're a top 5 team in the country. And now you have a big like that coming off the bench. That's a force. I mean, that's a force. That's a force to be reckoned with.
Yep. But we'll get the chance to see that later on. But
Sure.
Man, yeah, Purdue could be very, very. They could be they are right now the team in the Big Ten. Juwan Howard going through some things with Michigan. They're not quite as strong as they seemed last year, but this is early, man. This is still early in the season. It's December. They're not even into the full conference play yet. So things will change up through the end of January, I think. And continue into February.
Teams that normally win and who have deep late season, postseason runs, they find a way. They find their niche when they need it. So for me, you got to keep them down. You got to find a way to punch a bully in the mouth early and often. You can't give them life because, again, they're going to find a way to win. To me, they just got too much coaching power as well, not only with Juwan Howard, but with the other coaches as well. Just too many veteran coaches that's been there, done that. So you got to keep them down. And speaking about IU, I want to talk about real quick. I like where we're at. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I like where we're at. It looks like we're having fun again, or it looks like they're having fun for the first time. Question for you: you think it's a matter of coaching? You think that coaching change was that different of that incremental progress?
Oh, hell yes! Without even thinking about that, not just on the team,
right?
It's just not just on the team,
right?
It just goes down the line,
right?
Right now, the relaxation around the program is immense. You just look at Woody, and if he used to joke around, someone asked him about golf, he said, "Well, how good he was." He'd say, "Well, basically, when you're looking at me, you're looking at Tiger Woods."
Right.
He's kidding around. But the truth is, when you're looking at him, you're looking at the feeling the team has. Very relaxed, not panicked. And I think that has carried over. And I think it will continue to carry over as they continue to learn and get better and do the things that they aren't doing right now yet, as they try to continue to put that together. But it's a lot easier to do that with the way Woody is doing it, I think, than the way it was tried to be done before, with a lot of there was just a lot of pressure, a lot of unknown, a lot of the relationships weren't there. It was a very odd situation. Now it's very normal, if not even further. You talk about 180 degrees. It's 180. This may be 183 or 4 or 5 degrees. It's just, not only is it the opposite direction, a little bit more. I mean, and Woody gets all the credit for it. Well, Scott Dolson starts to get the credit for it, but Woody gets the credit for that. He has given this. It's his demeanor. After the game Saturday, Mike Bray, Notre Dame's coach, talked about Trace Jackson Davis, how he plays with that motor all the time, going. But at the same time, he plays with a very even-keeled demeanor. And he talked about that potential flagrant 2 foul where the guy pulls him down. But Trace Jackson knew he wasn't trying to be malicious, because you could see him trying to stop the fall on the way down, and he was the opponent was the first one to help him back up. So there was nothing between them, but it's got stuff stirred up, but he stayed calm. Mike Bray talked about how he plays calm. I think part of that is Woody. Woody has been in the NBA for 20 years, man. Seen it, done it. He's got the T-shirt, giving it back, signed it and autographed it and given it back to people. So I think that has made a huge difference for this team, especially a team that has so many different faces that you've got to get together now.
Yeah, and to compliment what you said, I can add to that, just compliment it. I think it's identity, right? We're establishing an identity, and you can see that amongst the players, right? It looks like they're prepared to play. They're relaxed. You're getting some sparks from Rob Finney that you rarely would see offensively, right? And I think he'll catch some more rhythm. But I think we have an identity. I think the way we rehearse, the way we practice, rehearsal effect. I think we're starting to see that conversion from practice to play, right? And it's just that we got to find ways to get Parker Stewart more shots, get more guys involved. But I think that's the biggest difference to coach. I think you spot on with that with Coach Woodson.
Here's a great. I don't know if we have 5 minutes left in this segment, but what do we think about the COVID forfeiture rules this year? If you cancel a game, it's a forfeit. The Big Ten Conference is doing that. I don't know what else to do. I mean, in the conference side of it, keeping records, what else are you going to do?
Right.
Especially if it's, a team coming up that, I don't want to get into all that, but I don't know that there's anything else to do. I think you have to call it a forfeit. I mean, you either go out and play or you don't.
Yeah, and you can't. And there's no because of the lack of preseason and lead up to your conference play. There's no time to make these games up. You don't have time to make these games up. So you don't want that, as something that might come up. You wish everybody could stay healthy, but I think they're doing all they can do in the Big Ten to make sure everybody's safe and healthy too.
Yeah, I think they're just not doing the amount of testing that they were doing before. But other than that, let's hope it doesn't continue down a downward path. But we have seen several college games get canceled here recently. Not just college games, a lot of games affected by this. So a surprising number, to be honest with you. And I'm like, I think that they might have to adjust the rules on your people's availability or not. If they can produce a negative test, I don't care if it's been 10 days or not. If you're negative, you're negative. If you're not infectious, you're not infectious. So why? It's going to have, it's just like the flu, man. It's going to become like the flu.
Right.
It ain't going away. It's not going away, but that's that. But I mean, it would stink. It really does to play, to win games, to try to win a conference title, Charlie, and to have games determined on that you don't even get to play. Yeah, that stinks. Or it could be another team that you're fighting for that title, and a team that they're supposed to play forfeits, and they don't even have to play them. So there's all kinds of ways that can change things.
Well, it's two sides of that, right? And let's go with the latter unfortunate side. You are affected. You are affected in more ways, obviously, than the players. But then, you have to forfeit some games that you really needed to play because you was in a good position versus a team, that might. And I don't want to call what IU football did a couple years ago that, but you might be the benefactor of a couple breaks your way, and all of a sudden you find yourself in the top 5 of the Big Ten, where you might have had no opportunity. So that's kind of like, it's like, again, there's a good and bad side to it, but again, it'll all work out in the end.
Absolutely. It's all we can do, right?
Yeah.
It's all you can do is just keep going through it. We got lots more to talk about. Jim Reamer is going to join us. We're going to talk about what happened over the weekend in high school basketball around to see what's going on with that and much more. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Monday, brought to you by our great friends at Southern Stone Restaurant, Patterson and Rogers, Bloomington. That's where you can find Mike Woodson tonight with Don Fischer. I forgot to bring that up today. 7:05 as the Mike Woodson Inside Indiana Basketball Show. We're back with more right after this.
Jim, I'm not going to be able to make that, right? Because I'm in Myrtle. I told you that.
Yeah, I don't. Damn it. Not sure if I'm making it or not either.
Well, I think Alec usually listens to it.
Yeah.
So I'll text him and make sure that he knows that I'm not going to be there.
Hey, I'm going to go ahead and break out, Jim, as I know everybody's getting ready.
Okay, brother.
Okay, man. Hey, I appreciate you guys.
Hey, thank you. You have a safe trip, man.
Thank you. And how about I'll get with you and let's see if possibly like another hour or something like that on say I'll look at tomorrow or Wednesday. When's Christmas? Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's probably look at are you on Friday?
We're not even on Friday.
Are you on Thursday?
Yeah, we're pretty full. Wednesday is always.
Okay, let's look at Wednesday. Let's look for about an hour, if that's cool with you.
Cool. Oh, you're always, man.
All right, thanks, man. I appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you.
Be safe.
I felt it. All right.
Good morning, Mr. Reamer.
What's happening?
Charlie just left. He had to go. He's traveling.
Yeah, I saw the backstage part.
He's in Louisville.
Nice. He's close. He's watching his kid play.
Yeah, he was at center or Midway.
Okay.
I hate that he's that close. I didn't get to see him. Damn.
Yeah, he's real close to you.
Well, it's that stupid. It didn't work out because this weekend traveling up to the Crossroads on Saturday.
Yeah.
But I would have gone down yesterday if I'd known. I forgot, to be honest with you.
Let's see.
All kinds of comments now, boy. Got that going.
Ross is about the mask mandate might be interesting because I know the president of Indiana was saying that she's struggling getting people to wear them. So back in 2015. Five, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday. Appreciate you joining us. Jim Coyle with you as always. Jim Reamer joining us now. Jim, how are you doing, brother?
Doing well, man. How are you?
Cannot complain. How was the weekend?
Good. Got a chance to watch the game Saturday. We had two guys out watching high school games all day Saturday, so that gave me a chance to be home until the evening. Then I got to watch Braden Smith play, who's committed to Purdue. Saturday night, that was good.
Who isn't committed to Purdue?
It's true. He's good. And that's obviously before Woodson before Coach Woodson gets the job. But Miller would never recruit him, and it was ironic because he was a successful small point guard, and I know the game has changed since he played. But what hasn't changed is quickness, decision making, shooting, and in Braden's case, just a lot of length.
Right.
I mean, he's
I don't.
6 feet.
He's a great player,
6'1",
good player, but I don't know that Woody would have recruited him. I'll be honest with you.
And that could be. And a lot of it depends on who you're getting instead. But I mean, he's. We talk about what Lander did at Evansville Reitz on the schedule they play, which wasn't a lot. And you look at what Braden has done with Westfield when the schedule they play, which is a lot. Other than the fact they have yet to get by Carmel in the sectional, they've checked all the boxes in terms of competing with the top teams in the state. Not even the games they lose, they're competitive. He just runs into a buzzsaw March, and they have a chance to turn the tide this year. But he's really good. I mean, IU will regret it. They'll regret it. He's going to be really good in the Big Ten.
No question. I mean, is he 5'11"?
No, I mean he's a little taller than me now, so he's pushing 6'1" at this point. Not a lot taller, but it's there. And I mean I'm right at 6, so I don't. But you also look at length. That's a big deal. And he's definitely has a plus wingspan, and he shoots the ball so well. He's got incredible vision, and he knows how to set it up. He's not out there just making reads. He's making decisions. He understands how the defense rotates around him and how much gravity he has, and he's able to create openings. And that's a pretty advanced skill.
Indiana's recruiting right now is at a kind of a weird place. With the changeover, Purdue has a big grasp on the in-state talent kind of at the moment. That was not the case just a couple of years ago. I wouldn't imagine that stays the case with Mike Woodson being there, but also they're trying to recruit nationally at the same time, where Purdue stays really more closer to home, where they have I don't know how many guys they're going to have on their roster next year that are from Indiana, but it's going to be a substantial number.
Well, and 22 is not a deep class. It's got some big names, and you've got, but it's not as deep and as talented as what 2021 was. And again, 2023 is probably a lot deeper, but I'm not sure that it's deep at the high major level. There's going to be a lot more D1s coming out of 23 than 22, but I don't think you'll necessarily see an influx of kids that end up being difference makers at a high major level, at least the same number.
Indiana just missed that. I mean, the Trey Kaufman, Caleb First era, there were definitely some different makers in that, but Indiana missed that because of the changeover coaching.
And class of 2024 in Indiana is not going to be strong. Now 2025 is different. So it's a like I said, I've said this a couple of times on our podcast. We've had a discussion with a father who listens a lot to our podcast, and he's a good guy. He's got kids in the class of 20. He had a stepson in 2021 and a son in 2024, and he was telling me one day, he's like, 2024 is every bit as good as 2021. And I'm like, I didn't think so. And he's like, well, the reason why you haven't heard of him is because they haven't played on varsity yet. I'm like, well, that's kind of the point, isn't it? The 2021, those guys were all making impact. Maybe not all, but a lot of those guys, a bunch of them were making impact as freshmen. And what you've got now are kids in the 2025 class making an impact as freshmen. Jalen Harrelson, Sisley. You've got the two guards that are in Indy, Xavier Robinson at LN and LeBron Go at Cathedral. And you've got kids that there's a freshman at Switzerland County. There's a freshman at Vincennes Lincoln. These guys are producing really good offensive numbers. Now, I don't know much about their games yet. I've not watched them, but they're producing really good offensive numbers as freshmen. You just didn't see that out of the 2024 class. So it's going to be for guys that really for people that really want Indiana to recruit Indiana kids. It's going to be the next couple of years are going to be slim pickings.
Yep, we'll see how that goes. COVID. I was talking about that earlier, and that drew a big response. And I'm only talking about it in the fact that it's man, it's coming back with a vengeance. We've seen a lot of cancellations. I haven't seen a lot of that in high school yet. It seems mostly in college.
It is. There were a couple games this weekend that got postponed, and there's a couple of schools. I know Noblesville was on delay, but that wasn't all COVID. They had a couple of cases of strep. They have one kid that is injured. I think they had another kid that's been suspended for 3 games.
So that's a forfeiture, right?
I'm sorry?
So that's just a forfeiture, right?
No, not here. No, there's room to schedule, and there's no. Yeah, there's no big. Even if you cancel games, like most of them say postpone, they'll just play them some other time. But even if they cancel games, they're not counted as losses or anything like that. Now, at Indiana at the high school level here, it doesn't matter. Everybody makes the state tournament, so I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but you know what I mean. If they have to cancel a game, and all of a sudden the IHSA comes out and says the team that cancels forfeits. That doesn't change it. That doesn't change anybody's trajectory. It's not like we're gonna. If one of the top teams had to forfeit a game, we weren't going to think less of them from a rating or perspective or a perspective, for a big picture perspective on how they would do in March. Now, obviously that changes a little bit once the state tournament gets here, but I got to think we'll have it a little bit more under control back then. But
so somebody asked, there we go. Is Connorsville going to be ranked number 1 in 3A this week?
I think they've been 1, 2, or 3 so far, period. I didn't really look and see let's take a look and see who lost this week. I haven't really looked at that stuff yet. I mean, Mishawaka Marion lost to Westfield. I don't know that them losing to Westfield makes them any less of a favorite in 3A. Again, the voting mentality among pollsters is vastly different than like a website like mine, where we sort of have our own thinking on who's really good and who's not. I mean, it would be one thing if Mishawaka Marion had lost to, another 3A team. I would say Greensburg losing by 20 to Jennings County had a bigger impact than Mishawaka Marion losing to Westfield. Let's see, Leo's got a loss. When did their loss come? They lost to Fort Wayne Northrop. I mean, Northrop's going to be really good. I mean, but we've had those 3 teams in the top. Well, no, that's not true. I didn't have Leo that high up, so I shouldn't lump me in there. My top 4 teams have been Mishawaka Marion, Connorsville, Brebeuf, North Harrison, and I think I had Northwood 5th. And that's kind of what it's looking like now, with Leo probably getting more guard play from younger kids that I didn't anticipate. But when we did our preview stuff, a couple of our guys really had high regard for Leo, so they trumped me on that, and they've lived up to it. But I mean, sure, the way the voting mentality works, absolutely, Connorsville will probably be number 1, and they should be. Anybody that thinks they're the best team in 3A has a right to think that. I mean, I definitely think they're one of the top 2 or 3. I'm going to be at their game on Tuesday, so I'll get a chance to watch them play.
Who's the best uncommitted player in the state right now?
No, man. I mean, are we still counting Leland Walker?
Or group of uncommitted? I mean, it doesn't have to be. It could be just a couple different.
Well, I mean, you're looking at. I mean, if we're still counting Leland Walker, then he is definitely uncommitted. I think Peter Suter from Carmel is there as far as that mantle goes. I had a discussion today with a college coach an assistant coach at a mid-major level. They were inquiring about Pete, and Pete missed the spring summer because of an injury, and I think he is sort of waiting to see what the season holds. I don't know that his recruiting will jump any. I don't think he's going to climb into the high major area. I think he's going to get a lot more of what he already has, which is still good. And his baseline is he's going to be a really good defender at the Division I level. That's his baseline, and his offense has considerably improved each step of the way. He's one of the best that's uncommitted. If you count Leland Perry still, he would be. Then you got to look at J.J. Loudon, who had transferred to a prep school. He was formerly at Pike, was set to attend Attucks this year. He's uncommitted.
Xavier?
No, that's 2023.
Oh, he's in the 23.
If that was that your question was seniors,
No,
right?
no. I was talking about seniors. No, you're right.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, Suter. I mean, I'm looking at even like Richard Brooks from Mishawaka Marion. I don't know. He's kind of a tweener recruiting wise. Is he a 3? Is he a 4? And he's probably thinking he's maybe a tweener 2-3, like between a 2 and a 3. He's definitely, I think, now shaped his game to where he's a definite wing. He's a definite small forward. His shot looks a lot better. He was pretty good against Westfield. They just didn't have an answer for Braden. Hold on a second. I'm looking at some bigs here. I mean, 2022 is pretty picked over. You're looking at guys like Joe Reedy, Nick Brooks. You're talking about two guys that are being, I think, in my mind, under-recruited. But those aren't names that IU fans are, going to be too indoctrinated on. As far as a recruiting standpoint, certainly if you have IU fans who live in those areas and follow those teams, they're going to know who they are. But yeah, I would say just from a big name perspective, you're looking at Leland Walker, Pete Suter, and then JJ Loudon. But Leland and JJ are no longer in Indiana; they're playing prep schools out of state.
And then actually 2023, which will actually probably have an impact, whereas Indiana's done recruiting for the season, I would imagine. I mentioned Xavier Booker. He's one that Indiana's looked at, but not the only one. There's a lot of there's several in that class.
Yeah. I mean, Logan Imes at Zionsville, you could make a case he's strong. He's a little bit better than Gabe Cupps, but now I love Cupps. So I really like him. Imes is a point guard out of Zionsville. I think IU's in good shape with JQ Roberts. I think that's a good get. He would be good at, like, he's got a nice ceiling to play up to, and still has a lot of room underneath it. So it's not like he's close to the player he's going to be in college. I have no clue.
He's really smart, smart kid, good kid, super nice kid.
Yeah, he plays. I love how he just never doesn't play hard. His motor is relentless, and I love that about him. He's a kid that's transitioning from being a post player to a perimeter player. So there's still a lot of nuance that he has to work on. But he's gotten good at he's a good decision maker. He's very good offensively on functioning within the concept of a system. I think the things he's got to figure out is when he does put the ball on the floor, what's his stopping point before it starts to become a risk? He had a super nice drive against Center Grove where he beat his closeout. There was a closeout on him. He beat that. And then he split two defenders at the lane line and threw up and dunked on him or dunked around him, which was impressive. Just the different ways he had to maneuver to get to that shot.
Sounds like my game.
Yeah. But he's, we have, we have different views of where Xavier Coleman fits in, or Xavier Booker fits into this equation. I was looking at Jermaine Coleman's name here too, as I was flipping through. And then you're going to get guys like Jermaine Coleman and Sam Orm and Joey Hart. I love Hart. You're going to get guys like that are they high major? I know Hart has a Northwestern offer, but right now Loyola's recruiting the heck out of him. He's got some other schools too that have been very high on his list. Ball State, or not necessarily high on his list, but very, very involved with him. Ball State, Drake, New Orleans was one of the first schools to offer him. Wichita State is certainly, that's a good conference too. But I'm looking at some of those guys. Colvin is committed to Purdue. With him, it's a lot of the same thing. They don't win a lot. And it's not like Heritage Christian's out there playing world beaters. So the question is going to be how does that translate to winning? How does his playing style translate to winning? and or playing in a winning program. Now, in his defense, most coaches absolutely feel it's a heck of a lot easier to kind of rein a kid in than to push a kid forward. And that's kind of where you might be with Colvin. But I mean, he's talented. He definitely has the physical tools to play. But then it's just about the nuance and understanding how to make winning plays and not just plays that look good on a stat sheet.
Very important. Hey, we got to take a break. Jim Reamer's with us, talking some recruiting action right now. We'll be back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this. We don't have audio today or radio.
Okay. I was going to say, I didn't usually wait till it gets quiet, but it got quiet right away. Another one we could talk about too is Joey Brown at North Central.
Downtown Joey Brown.
He's got a chance. He's just got to stay healthy.
Got a chance.
These tall, slender kids are.
I could have been a somebody.
Yeah,
I could have been a contender. Kids. Keegan has no idea what that is.
No idea.
Could have been a somebody. I could have been a contender. Or is it the opposite way? I could have been a contender. I could have been a somebody. That's from On the Waterfront. A 1950, I don't know, 9 movie that won probably the Oscar with
Marlon Brando.
Marlon Brando. I could have been a contender.
I didn't remember the name of the movie. I knew who
you were talking about. Holy smokes. Not a lot in college basketball this weekend, huh?
I just watched the IU game. So, I watched the Purdue Butler game too, but that game got over pretty quickly.
Man.
Yeah, I don't watch a lot of college except for IU games and Butler games, and then once Big Ten season gets here, I watch a lot more.
Downtown Joey Brown.
30 seconds.
Okay.
Five, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday, getting your week started off right, hopefully. Jim Reamer joining me. This is Jim Coyle, as always. Talking some high school basketball over the weekend earlier with recruiting notes, and we're about to head into conference play for college. They still have a couple. Indiana has a couple more non-con games, as most schools do, and then the Big Ten gets underway right now. As I look at the overall standings, Michigan State is 9-2, a team that kind of was, beat around a little bit at the start of the year, but man, they're standing tall right now. So Ohio State at 8-2, Illinois is 8-3, Northwestern is 7-2, Purdue, of course, 10-1, Minnesota 9-1, Indiana 9-2, Wisconsin 9-2. There's going to be potentially 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think there's potentially 9 to 10 teams that will make the NCAA tournament this year from the Big Ten. Now, I know they'll be banging on each other as the conference season starts, Jim, but you've got, if I look at the bottom and go up, the bottom goes down to Iowa, and then Maryland, Rutgers, Michigan, Wisconsin, Indiana, Minnesota, Purdue, with Northwestern. That's an anomaly. Illinois, Ohio State, and Michigan State. So 10. I think that they have 10 legitimate teams that have a shot at the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and without dissecting their non-conference schedules, it's hard to figure out. Like, is Maryland? What's Maryland 6-4? I remember growing up, you'd always see back when Wisconsin was bad. You'd come in. Wisconsin would be like 7-1, come into the Big Ten, and then they'd win like 3 Big Ten games in a given year. That was before. When I'm a kid, that was before you're thinking, okay, what was their non-conference schedule like? And because Indiana always played 3 or 4 really good teams, and those games were always on national TV, so you always kind of knew Indiana played a tough schedule. But I think here, just growing up, we thought it was just because it was Indiana. Right. Not fully sure I understood the scope of it back then, but yeah, I mean, of course, the surprising thing, obviously, Purdue loses at Rutgers. That's going to propel Rutgers into the conversation. If they can hover, if they can be just above 500, I think they got a shot at making it.
They are 5-5. They are probably, yes, they are tied for the second worst record in the Big Ten overall, period, at 5-5. Nebraska's 5-7. So there you go.
I don't know what
Purdue loses to the team that is tied for the second worst record in the Big Ten right now. That's the craziness of this league.
Let's see what.
And it is going to be fun.
Rutgers' losses: 1 to Illinois, 1 to DePaul, and DePaul's 9-1 right now. They don't have a lot of. Well, they beat Louisville. I don't know how great of a game that is. They lost to Creighton. That's their one loss. Is Creighton.
That's not a bad loss, though, is it?
So that's Rutgers' loss. That's one of their losses. Is now my stupid browser's not going back. One of their losses is to a DePaul team that's probably playing as well as they've played in a long time. Another one of their losses is a Big Ten road game, and to Illinois. That's not anything to sneeze about. So yeah,
Creighton's not bad.
That Purdue win will look pretty good on the resume.
I'll tell you what's showing badly for Rutgers is this big goose egg on the road away. They're 0-4 right now. They are the only team that is, Indiana.
No, Maryland hasn't played
on the road.
Yeah,
Maryland hasn't even played a road game.
Are they counting neutral court games as?
I don't think so.
No,
because
who did Indiana
that would be
they lost to Syracuse and
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So, no, they're not. So Rutgers not playing well on the road, but they played some tough teams, like you pointed out. So we'll see. It's got to shake out, of course. But like I said, I think there are 10 legitimate teams that could make it. It'll probably be closer to 9, and even that'll be a battle. But that doesn't – teams that are down there in the 7, 8, 9 category. I'm not going to be surprised if that's where Indiana finds itself. I mean, you got a lot of tough road games that you're going to have to go play.
Well, when you in the past, when people have dissected coaching records and where they place in the Big Ten and all that kind of stuff on determining if they think a coach should be fired or not, or you enter into those types of debates. There's been years where you go 9-9 and finish 4th in the Big Ten, and you go 10-8 and finish 7th. A lot of it depends on balance. A lot of it depends on. And this will just be a more dissected view of balance. A lot of it depends on if there's probably a couple of teams that really dominate and a couple of teams that really stink. You're going to have a huge log jam, between 3 and 10, and that's there's a slippery slope between. That most people look how good a team is by how high up they are in the standings instead of just maybe a record or whatever. But yeah, I mean, Indiana could easily be in that 4 through 7 or 8 range, and really just be the difference between 1 or 2 games.
Always is.
Yeah, any of those always could be in that range.
The University of Kentucky U of L game just postponed due to COVID at Louisville, which is ironic because I was getting ready to bring them up. Is Chris Mack in trouble at Louisville? You've got a new AD that's going to have to come in, either the interim or a new AD. You've got all these issues that have gone on. There's some problems under him already. They just lost to Western Kentucky. Things are not looking great down there.
No, and that's, I guess if I was a college coach, I would consider how comfortable am I where I'm at, not just in terms of coaching, but in terms of lifestyle too. There's been a lot of times where these guys have made these jumps just over a bigger contract, and it ends up being a short-term haul. I don't know if he's in trouble or not. I don't know the disposition of whatever, it depends on the disposition of their new athletics director. I think you're always more comfortable when you work for the guy that hired you. I think anytime there's a change in the power, the power hierarchy, or just the hierarchy in general, the guys underneath are always the first one to figure out, what their cover is. And I would think he's just in trouble just from the natural order of things, where they bring in a new AD, that guy's going to want to have his guy in place.
And it's just been a mess down there since it's been a mess down there for a long time. Let's not kid each other. But the FBI thing, it's still, because that's still ongoing. They have not been punished for that yet. We just saw, who was it? Auburn, their punishment come down. Louisville's has not even come down yet. Although Rick Pitino was there when that happened and is gone and kicking ass at Iona, ironically, he's doing much better than Louisville's doing, but it's just, I don't know. They're still not out of that mess, and they're kind of in another mess already. So, man, they cannot get out of their own way.
Wait, for them, that involvement, the confluence of the stuff that Pitino was doing, the stuff that was definitely happening during his reign with the recruiting stuff that has nothing to do with the FBI investigation, all of that sort of converging into one. I don't know when the NCAA is going to come down on that, and I don't know how consistent the NCAA has been on handling these teams. How much of it's related to this Ponzi scheme that the FBI was. That it really initiated the FBI investigations, and how much of it do they want to focus on the recruiting side of it? I know the FBI didn't. They came in thinking they came in literally spouting off they were going to change, the direction of college basketball recruiting, and they really didn't. They completely got out of it as soon as they got the charges they needed to get charged, and people, people on the record, and with all the different subpoenas they just basically were using this investigation as subpoena power, and they really had no interest in going after the NCAA schools directly, and they kind of left it for the NCAA to just here about halfway through. They're like, well, here's what's going to happen. We're going to get done with our investigation, then we're going to hand all the information pertinent to you guys and let you deal with it. And I think the FBI kind of dropped the ball a little bit on some of that stuff, at least some of the stuff they claimed they were going to do.
Ironically, Kentucky having another game canceled. They had a high-profile game against UCLA get canceled just over the weekend. And
is that the one where Pitino? Did Pitino tweet we can come down? Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that was good.
But exactly why I'm bringing it up, because why not? He will be doing it again. And how ironic would it be when it's Louisville that's supposed to be playing Kentucky, where he coached at both schools previously? That would be our. But there's no way in hell that Kentucky would ever play that game. First of all, because Iona would win the game probably. Maybe only not because it would be in Lexington, but other than that, if that was a neutral court game, buddy, I'd bet Iona.
Calipari's not going to put himself in a situation where it's a no-win situation. So
he's 1-7 lifetime at Kentucky in true road games. So that means he's only played 8 in the 12 years he's been there.
Yeah.
So he only plays one road game like every year and a half.
It's about true road games.
Not non-conference,
Right, not neutral.
true road
Yeah,
games.
not
non-conference, true road
non-neutral.
games,
Yeah.
Like playing in Indiana, playing in Louisville. That's like the only game. Louisville's maybe the only game that they play now. True road game. I don't know. I have to look at that, but
I miss the times when Indiana would play. Knight did this, where they would play in state schools. They would usually do a 2-for-1 or a 3-for-1. It would usually be 2 games at Assembly Hall and then the one of the classics, one of the Indiana Classic or the Hoosier Classic, and then they would go play there. And Knight's explanation was always, we want to play in their arenas because it gives our fans in that area of the state a chance to watch us play that might not otherwise get to see us play live. And they also used it as a recruiting tool. We're going to play in front of the kids in this area and let them see the brand of basketball they could play in person if they come and decide they want to be involved with Indiana basketball.
Yep, makes perfect sense back then, especially back then where there was no social media. But I mean, still taking it to the people, never a bad idea. Indiana, that's kind of not the way of doing things now. Everybody wants to stay and play a home game where they can make all the money.
And that's not just Indiana. That's
oh no, it's everywhere.
It's
college. That's actually sports. Period.
Yeah, high majors across the board, and the low and the non-high majors take that money every time. Maybe not every time, but most of the time. I know Butler got to a point before the A10 progression into the Big East where they were done taking pay games because just from the reputation of it, like they wanted to know, we're scheduling you. You have to play us home and home, and sometimes they would give 2-for-1s, but they quit taking pay games the last couple of years in the Horizon League. So once they sort of cast their line into, we are looking to get into a bigger conference, they quit taking pay games, even as a Horizon League school.
Earlier we were talking about some in-state players, and this is one that I didn't. How about Jeffersonville's Will Loving Watts? Where's he on the spectrum?
He was a kid that early on you're intrigued with him physically. You're definitely intrigued with his abilities and his what his skills could be. He definitely was another kid that grew early, so he had a lot of success, and he had to develop more of an outside game. And he has developed that, and so then a lot of it is also just putting it all together. But he just at that point he quit growing. So he was basically turned himself into what is now going to be a potentially a really good career at Drake as a shooting guard. And, but Jeffersonville's struggling this year. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if they got kids injured, if they got kids sick, but they've not looked good early on this year. Now, again, they could put that all together and still be one of the best teams in the southeast part of the state. But right now they're not, I wouldn't say they're playing great basketball.
Oh, well, great basketball is what we all love to see. Love to watch. See, Matt says IU has to get back to dominating home games, especially Big Ten. What is the longest home winning streak the last 6 years? That's a good question because I recall, what was they on, a 60, 61 game home winning streak back in the 90s? They lost to Iowa. I remember that. But they had won like 60 or 61 straight home games back then. Now, I'm not expecting that, but that's a good question. And that's an answer I'd like to find out the answer to, what the longest home winning streak is that they've had over the last 5 or 6 years. So we'll do some research on that and find that out. That's a great question, Matt. We'll see. But let's see. Oh, yeah. I mentioned this. IU's next opponent, Darren Horn of Northern Kentucky, was an assistant for Texas and Shaka Smart before taking over at Northern Kentucky. Did he not play at Kentucky?
Darren Horn?
Yeah.
No, I don't
Where
think
did he
so.
play?
I'm looking it up right now.
Man, I was like, I know that name. Or am I thinking Western Kentucky used to be there? Too many names.
He might have played at Western Kentucky. Playing career, Western Kentucky, 1991, 1995.
There you go.
He's from Glasgow, Kentucky.
That's what it was. I knew that that name was rolling around my head for some reason. But yeah, we'll see that. But it's good to see those guys grow up in the coaching ranks. The hometown guys.
He's interesting to sit by.
Yeah, and
he wouldn't remember me, but he was interesting to sit by.
And in what way? He doesn't remember. He's not listening.
There's a lot of paranoia and a lot of cynicism among college coaches, and he's up there with them.
Everybody's paranoid about it.
Everybody's out to get him. Everybody's trying to get him fired, and sometimes I think they obsess. And this isn't speaking of him directly, but sometimes I think they're more obsessed with that than actually just doing their job. That's the way Crean was too. He's like, there'll never be a time where someone's not out to get you. And I'm like, well, when you're on top, not that, when you're on top, people want to knock you down. I don't know why. That's just being competitive. And they would say, well, it comes within, if it comes within your own program, like, well, then just, I don't know. Part of me would say, just do it to the point where they can't even touch you.
Yeah. Winning cures it all, baby.
I mean, if Knight can get fired, anybody can get fired, right? I mean,
exactly. Hey, well, it's been another fun one, brother. I cannot thank you enough as always. It has been a fun way to kick off the week on this Monday. Cannot thank Charlie Miller enough as well. Don Fischer, of course. Make sure you head out to Southern Stone Restaurant if you're in the Bloomington area tonight at Patterson and Rogers for Inside Indiana, 705 with Mike Woodson and Don Fischer. And then, of course, Jim Fisher from Courtside Indiana. Make sure you give him a follow. Other than that, we will be back tomorrow to do it all again, and I can't wait, man. Jim, have a great day.
All right, Jim. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. Thanks a lot to Keegan for keeping us on. And most importantly, thanks to you guys. Without you, we don't have a reason to be here. Until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.